Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pillowtalk Podcast. And today, again, we are back to talking about things that are going wrong with this country and this world. And a major part of that is being played due to the pandemic. And since most of us are students, I'm assuming we are all affected by what's happening around the world. But so like we have friends who have been studying abroad for the past couple of years, most of them in the US. They are going through problems because of the visas being cancelled and stuff like that. But one of the issues that's hit closest to home when it comes to colleges and coronavirus is the entire DU third year examination debacle. And so I also was in DU for a year. I am extremely glad right now that I left when I did. But a lot of my friends, including Manan, are in DUs right now, and they are trying to figure out, what's going to happen with the exams and stuff like that. So, this episode, we're going to be covering, a DU student's journey right from the time they take admission to the time that they leave the colleges and start with their jobs. It's going to be a very thorough podcast where we talk about everything that happens throughout these 3 years. And hopefully you'll have fun when Manan will be talking about his stories and what all he went through in college. So just to give the context for the topic that we've chosen, Manan, what is your thinking or what is your mindset about the exams and the postponement and stuff like that?
Honestly, we have thought of this idea for a podcast about how we'll cover the journey of a DO student after I had graduated. But since that seems like a time that might never come, we've decided to cover it right now before even my final exams have ended. But again, I think at this point, I am so indifferent towards whatever's happening because I'm A exhausted, B annoyed by the continuous changes that are happening because if they say let's do A and the students say okay let's not do A, they say okay let's do B, and this keeps on going, but they don't understand what the students want because they're just providing alternatives and they're just extending deadlines which make no sense. There's a whole lot of discussion going on about whether the exam should be cancelled or not, and that's another discussion for another day. But again, this delay in the whole process is what is making so many people anxious because a lot of people have jobs, have a lot of offers that might get rescinded because of all of this. They have universities to join abroad or in India for postgrads that they might not be able to join because we won't get our degrees on time. There are so many factors that need to be considered, but this just exposes like everything that is wrong with our system, and this makes me want to go back and realize that this is not the first time that it's happening. This has always been the case with the University of Delhi, and considering it's a central university, like India's central university that comes under the government, you can't expect a government university to have so many problems throughout the 3 years.
That's right. And you know what? So, another reason why I want to record this podcast right now is because my brother just finished class 12th and I'm trying to. So, in my first year, I didn't like DU at all. That wasn't so much because of, the culture that surrounded DU or anything in like that for that matter. It was just because I wasn't happy doing the course that I was doing and I needed to change. But that putting that aside, my brother, a lot of his friends are taking admission this year, and since they're all my brother's friends, they've reached out to me, tried to figure out what is the right choice or what is the right decision to make. And a lot of them, obviously, since they're from Delhi, they are taking DU into consideration. So, just the first thing that I want to know, and this is again like the first thing that I want to know about is the admission process. And Manan and I did spend a lot of time together during the admission process, but I still don't know exactly what was going through his head at that time. So I think now is a good time to ask him.
Back. till the day we got our results, right? I wasn't happy
Hmm.
with the result that I had received, and I knew that me aspiring to get into SRCC was not possible because my percentage would not meet the cutoff, right? As simple as that. But the next thing was,
Hmm.
okay, so what's our next step? What colleges are we going to get into? So the very common norm and due is in the first cutoff, take admission wherever you're getting it, then you can shift, right? So the
Yeah.
first day, me being a little short on research or the norms that keep on changing each year. I don't know what to blame, but I had gone to this one college for admission and they told me that you don't meet the cutoff. And I said, but I do meet the cutoff. And they said, no, you have to include this subject in your best four. And I said, isn't English the only subject that's compulsory? They said, no, you have to take economics and maths also. I said, okay, whatever. So I went to another
Hmm.
college, right? I went to another college to take admission. I stepped inside the college. I had all the documents in my hand. I stepped inside and I was with my father and I looked at him and I told him if I don't shift in the second cutoff, then I'm not coming here ever. And he said, what's wrong? I said, you can literally see what's wrong. Because the infrastructure in DU in some colleges is so terrible that it does not give a vibe of education at all, right? So
Hmm.
again, after like jumping two, three colleges, both Jay and I ended at Bhagat Singh. While and there was a huge process, and Jay helped me a lot during Bhagat Singh's admission line because at one point I was retracting my admission from another college while Jay was filling out my form for Bhagat Singh because he was so short on time on that day. Anyway, again, another problem with due process is even though they make it seem as if everything is uniform and every college wants the same documents, the forms are not uniform at all. Sometimes you need
Hmm.
signatures of your parents, sometimes you need signatures of someone else, sometimes you need XYZ number of photographs, and a lot of so many other things. And while this admission process was going on, we were also continuously involved in the sports quota admissions, which was another complete
Oh
hassle which was going
no.
on at the same time. Right? Jay and I probably took about 10 trips to North Campus, all futile just so we could go there and give our names again and again. Wait days and days in lines, and there was too much that was going on. And there's nothing that is like a lot of things could be made online, yet they aren't. But again, okay, whatever. Right now, let me take you to the first day of college. First day of college. Now, this somehow became a culture with me that the first day of each semester, right, and the first class of each semester, I got kicked out, right? For one reason or another, I got kicked out, right? Okay, so when the first lecture is going on, the teachers also have to show the students that we're not here to fuck around and we're strict and stuff like that. So they kick you out for like very petty reasons. But again, I got kicked out straight 5 semesters, first day, first class, right? But in retrospect, when I think of academics, I think it's so
Hmm.
outdated, and the teachers agree that it's outdated because they tell us that it's outdated, right? When we're studying accounting or when we're studying law and stuff like that, they tell us that a lot of the stuff that you're studying right now is not going to be used ever. And the only
Hmm.
reason you're studying this is because you have to study them. Even if that doesn't make any sense, but whatever. And we could still adopt so many things from other universities. Like a lot of the private universities like Shivnada University, like Amity, like Ashoka, and a lot of others in India, they teach you on the basis of readings and modules and stuff that's actually
Hmm.
happened in the world and not just
Yeah.
factual studies, right? Which I think is so important. And that was one of my first complaints with DU.
So, talking about standing in those queues and waiting for days at end, the one thing that comes to my mind immediately is the fests. Okay, so Manan and I both, like Manan mentioned, that he had walked into a particular college, and his dad asked, what's wrong with this college, and he said that you can just look around and see for yourself what's wrong. So that is something, that is a feeling that both of us harbored for a very long time, even after we had taken admission in the last possible college. Like there was no shifting possible, that was possible after that. And we were both very excited about, I won't say we were very excited about it, but we were at least looking forward to it, was the freshers
Yeah.
party that happens in every separate DU college, right? So what happened was that the freshers date was released. Both of us got dressed up and we went there. And I mean, it was fun because we were together. We had some other people that we knew from before. Then we had attended a few classes, so we knew, two three more people, and we just had a relatively good time. But after that, I didn't attend any DO fest. So I just want to know from Manan, what fest did you attend, and do you think that the fests are as big a deal as they're made out to be?
I don't think I'm the right person to talk about fest with because I've attended a total of zero fests in DU. Because I don't feel like jumping in a pool of 50,000 students with no air, with no connectivity, and just to listen to some Bollywood music. Because and I think everything that could go wrong with an event goes wrong with it when there's a DU fest, right? Like
Yeah,
there,
that's true.
there's people jumping on people. There's full on security issues. Then there are a lot of harassment issues. There are women who
Yeah.
complain that they feel really unsafe, and everything that could possibly go wrong with an event goes wrong with an event at a DU fest. And I think that is one of the reasons why I never attended a fest in DU, because it was just too exhausting for me to just have that thought of me going to a college and attending a fest. And and I think more than the fest where like a lot of people feel really nice about fest, what I felt really nice about in college was the college society. Right? That is
Yeah.
one thing that both you and I stuck to in like me for the 3 years and you for 1 year. Because that was our sort of escape, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because the academics weren't exactly what we wanted to learn. So we jumped into societies. We gave all the interviews that were possible. And as a very eager new student, you give as many interviews as possible. You sit for as many GDs as possible. Just thinking about how you could join a society and like spend your time and learn new things, right? And I think that was one of my highlights from the 3 years, me working for multiple societies and working for stuff that actually mattered to a certain extent was what made
Yeah.
me stick around in DU. Because I remember Jay and I having constant conversations in our first year thinking कि bro यहाँ तो 3 साल नहीं निकाल पाएंगे, and the difference was just that Jay took action on it and I didn't, right? So I think that's what happened. College societies were a good way for me to escape all the terrible academic process that was going on, and the stupid professors, some of them, who would chuck me out of classes.
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time, whatever time we spent working with any of the societies that we were in, because regardless of whether or not, it was work that we wanted to do or work that we felt was worthwhile, because at points we did feel like, this is just being stretched unnecessarily.
Hmm.
But it was still, something new that we were doing, something that we were doing not just the two of us, but with people who we felt were more like us than the rest of the people in our colleges, right? Which again brings me to, my next question is that, coming from schools like DPS, Modern, Vasant Valley, etc., etc., all of us have a certain, all of us have a certain criteria of the people that, we associate or engage with on a regular basis. So how much did that factor into, the circle that you had in college, and how did, that circle either expand or contract as, you move towards the end of your 3 years at DU?
I think Yeah, these are two completely different things that I felt in DU. One, as you correctly mentioned, the there's a certain criteria that we have in our minds when we're looking for friends, right? And it's a subconscious criteria, not something that we're actively looking for, right? But again,
Yeah, yeah.
without sounding insensitive, and there there are very few people like that I've come across. Now, this is completely my story, right? So if you found
Hmm.
people in DU, that's great. But for me, there was a very small group of people that I would interact with, right? And but again, throughout these 3 years, what I also gained from that process is how to associate with everyone, right? Irrespective of
Hmm.
whatever
Hmm.
background they're coming from, because in D you have people from all backgrounds, right? There's
Yeah, that's true.
there's so much disparity in terms of a income levels, b how they've grown up, and what their social status has been. There's such a wide variety, and that is one thing
Hmm.
that DU has taught me well, is how you communicate with a lot of people, because sometimes you end up in projects where you might not share the same ideas as other people do, but to communicate and to understand what they feel where you might be wrong is what something is what something I've learned from DU, right? But
Yeah.
again, finding friends in DU was a tough task for me, and the only person I was clinging on to in my first year were probably a bunch of, well, like a group of three people, Jay being one of them. And and as and as soon as Jay left college, I was pretty miserable because I knew that my friend circle has been cut by about 50%. So, so I think, but again, like second year was like full of college societies, and since we were part of a lot of societies and we could head those societies now, so a lot of my time went into those, and I made it a point to score well in my second year because I had scored terribly in my first year. But yeah, so that's how I spent my first and second year. And but again, one thing that I would focus on again and again would be the importance of joining something that you could relate to in college. It could either be a dance talk, or it could be something, it could be your e-cell or whatever that you want to. Just associating with a different group of people would help you a lot in in having a better experience at DU.
Yeah, I think that's very very true, and I think that actually holds true for all colleges. Like I think both of us were those people who were very worried about, oh, I shouldn't go to this college, इस college का तो नाम नहीं है, या फिर इस college में ये
Right.
नहीं होता वो नहीं होता. But at the end of the day, what I've realized is that it's not so much about the place that you're at as much as it is about what you are going to make of that place and what you are going to do about where you are.
Mm.
And if you are putting in the time, the effort, and the dedication, then good things are going to happen to you. Like there's no stopping that. But I think one point that Manan missed out while talking about the circle of friends and everything is the female attention, or just female interaction that is available or that does take place in DU. So I mean, I would ask about male interaction as well. It's just that we don't have someone who is a direct recipient of that right now. So Manan, what are
Or
your thoughts about female interaction
who says
in
that I
DU?
didn't? Who says that I didn't get male attention, Jay?
You told me it's not because I'm bigoted, Manan.
But no, no. Again, so this is completely my experience, and again, like I told you, the circle that we interacted with was so small that the scope for
Hmm.
female attention became even smaller, right? And, and again, like I reiterate, during throughout my 3 years, I I didn't find a lot of people who I really wanted to associate with, right? I found
Hmm.
a lot
Hmm.
of people that were good friends. I found probably like three, four, five people who I really like in college, but that's about it. And again, talking about female interaction, just like the number of DU fests that I've been to, it's
But I think like keeping all of that aside and everything that happens at DU, you I think everyone, at least, people who are students who are graduating from schools like the schools that we've graduated from, they hear a lot of DU bashing in terms of, oh, यहाँ पे there's no college life in DU, कोई night life नहीं है, मैं ये नहीं करूँगा, मैं वो नहीं कर पाऊँगा, XYZ. But in my 1 year, I think I have experienced, hilarious instances that happened, and that can only happen at DU. So, like one of our friends, so DU students need to, stand in queue, get an admit card before their exams. So one of our friends was standing in the queue waiting to get his admit card. He reaches the counter,
I got
and
Arman.
the officer, yeah, and the officer says that, "अरे आप तो इस कॉलेज के ही नहीं हो, जाओ यहाँ से." So stuff like this doesn't happen everywhere, and this is again very specific to DU. And I think that that's a great thing, because the experiences that you get at each college, at each university, with such a variety of people, is not something that you can pick out and choose before you actually step into the premises.
Like I told you, a lot of these things could be made online. Like had that thing been made online, the whole admit card process, this would have never happened, right? And this is something we face twice a year for every semester. And this happens twice every year, and stuff like this goes down every year. There are people who are in lines, who are hitting each other just for an admit card. And it's so stupid, it's
Mhm.
so foolish that that makes me think about the quality of education and the quality of life that we are receiving at DU. But again, at a fee of say 5-10,000 bucks, I don't think I can expect anything more as well. But credit where it's due, I think what I really have to talk about is uh, DU, the placement scene that's on at DU, right? Like I really respect the way the placement cells work because A, they're very efficient, at least in my college, they're very efficient. They attract a lot of good companies, and they make the whole process really smooth. And getting a placement from DU, at least for me, was not very difficult. And I assume for a lot of people in my college, it hasn't been difficult. But again, these are my experiences. But I think across DU, I think because of how well reputed the university is, we get a lot of good placements ranging from 3 lakhs per year to about 20, 25, even 30 lakhs a year. So I think the placement
Hmm.
quality at DU is extremely nice.
Yeah, I think that's actually very true because even the year that I was in DU for, I saw the third years sitting down for placements. I even heard a lot of it when the placements were going on for Manan and my other friends who were in DU, and it just felt that there is like the sense of paranoia and the sense of being scared wasn't as prevalent as one would expect it to be. But just to make sure that this is a well-rounded discussion, what, Manan, according to you, are what is the last thing that you would want to tell someone who is looking to take admission in a DU college?
See, personally, academics wise strictly, I won't say that I enjoyed studying in DU, right? Simply because
Hmm.
I did not really enjoy the things that I was taught. And had it been any other course, I'm pretty sure it would have been the same story, right? Because the way of teaching has become a little outdated, and the way we're being taught and by the professors that we're being taught, some I would say are very substandard, and
Hmm.
I think that's a major problem when it comes to academics. Another thing,
Hmm.
like I said about placements, again, that's great, right? But one thing I've I have recently started feeling is how DU is creating a sort of very typical student, right? Because everyone who's studying in DU is really frustrated, right? I'm frustrated because of what I've been taught,
Hmm.
but a lot of other people are frustrated because of a lot of other things as well. And the way the students are coming out of DU is very single dimensional, I would say, right? A lot of people have a very simple mindset of okay, third year is done, let's either go for a job or let's um, sit for exams that could take us to postgrads or MBA schools or whatever, B school or whatever, right? Not many people in DU are thinking of something creative. Right? There's a very small population of children in DU who are actually thinking creatively, who are actually thinking what they really want to do rather than being in the same rat race of getting a job or going for their higher studies, right? So that is something I
Yeah.
feel that DU needs some sort of more exposure in a sense where people can
Hmm.
actually have a more well-rounded exposure in the sense of what to do with your life after college is done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty
But
spot
I think
on.
I think one thing that I have to include here is one sort of people that DO is producing each year is politicians, right? This year, I just have to add this, and I'm sorry that I'm adding this at the end. This year, for my college elections, I saw a fight where there was blood, right? For
Oh
college
shit.
elections, there were people who were bashing each other's noses in, and then there were people who were getting rusticated from the college, and there was police involved and everything. And each year during the election season, it's I love the election season, and I've never voted because it's so amazing to see how people would come into the public eye for 2 weeks, ask for votes, and just vanish after those 2 weeks.
Spanish. Yeah.
But again,
That's true.
I just want to end by saying, do you please try to create a more inclusive environment, try to create a better environment, try to hold something that is of value to the students because we're really lacking on a lot of quality in DU. As much as I respect DU for the experiences that it gave me, there's a lot of scope of improvement as well.
Yeah, and I think that is a pretty good spot to end this podcast on. And like with all other podcasts, we would want to know what your stories of your experiences at DU are. So,
Or if you've seen people dance on music with their shirts off after they've won elections, please
yeah,
let us know.
that's iconic in its own nature also. But apart from that also, like, I just want to wish the third year students all the best for whenever they have their exams, and a happy graduation to them also. Manan, I don't know when I'll be wishing him that, but this
There's a
year
good
is
chance
what you're going to get.
there's a good chance that you and I graduate together now.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good deal for all of us.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more episodes very soon. Stay tuned, and if there's anything at all that you need to talk to us about, please reach out and let us know what you thought of this episode. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon. Bye.